we had a small, like, quick issue. Hello. Yeah. If your environment is suitable, you can just open your camera to just say hello. Okay, I will start quickly. So welcome to the hello Victor. Welcome to the session. So this is the second second event of PyData Türkiye. So we are planning to organize similar events through the year, each quarter through the year. So please stay connected with us by subscribing to our meetup page if you haven't already. Today, Antons will be sharing his real-world experiences with us. We will have a 40 minutes of talk followed by a Q&A session. So you can ask your questions by verbally or from chat, whichever way you feel comfortable. So lastly, PyData Türkiye is sponsored by EPAM and Non-Focus. So we are grateful for their collaboration with us. So EPAM Türkiye also has several job openings in Turkey and in different locations. You can check its career page if you are interested. And I won't take too much time, and the stage is yours, Antons.
Okay, thank you. Let me show my screen. Yeah. Okay, sharing it now. All right. Hello, everyone. I hope you're doing fine. I hope you're doing good. And today I will be talking about model context protocol. So this is something that caught my attention some time ago, because this is something that I think that will change. I hope it will change the way as we do the GenAI application development in the near future. So first of all, who am I? And from the beginning, I would like to say a couple of words of apologies. Some graphics has been broken, and something that due to glitch in PowerPoint. So I do apologize for that, and then I send my highest regards to the Microsoft, who is creator of this wonderful tool. Yet later I will do the sendouts of we will do the sendouts of the materials that will be like with the fixed graphics and so on. So you want So who am I? I am the principal engineer at EPAM Systems, and I am working in the generative AI domain. At the same time, I do possess over 20 years of hands-on engineering. I was acting in the different positions. I have worked in the large companies, managing large divisions of over the 100 people. And then I've worked in the small startup where we've got the group of passionate people like doing garage development and then I appeared in EPAM as part of the Agile acquisition, where my mission is to figure out how to run ML AI systems on production. What are the production use cases, and how can we? And recently, my full focus and full dedication is happening around GenAI, because this is where the biggest challenge, how to run this thing on production. Right. And with all that, let me proceed with the MCP. So what is Model Context Protocol? This is something that appeared late 2024 as the small publication from Anthropic, and then it took a few months to catch up with the community. I do believe one of the triggers were the popularity of the agents. The Manus made a splash. Then the agentic API from OpenAI made another splash to and that's probably the API publication from OpenAI of their API caught attention of the community, which is they said, "Wow, this is something that we already have for a few months, and it looks actually quite nice, quite." And then something happened, and then model context protocol. Eventually, everybody is speaking about it now. So what it is, and before we will go on what is the model context protocol, let me dive into the evolution of the applications of GenAI applications. Right, today is it has been a couple of years since LLMs went into mainstream, but we're already speaking about evolution. Wow, that's amazing. So what does it means here? So at first, I divided the evolution into the three types. I don't want to put a kind of name for that, because once you put the names, then opinions start to appear, and eventually, and then in no time we can have a holy war. But this is why I just place it as step 1, step 2, step 3. So from the beginning, we've got the LLM, and then LLM has its own memory that is dated on the time when we were doing when the training happened. It doesn't know anything outside of this training, outside of its training data, and eventually the context window is limited. At least it was from the beginning. So there was a technique called open book question, where I present in the prompt to LLM the answer and the data, and say, "Hey, read the prompt, everything what is inside." Then the answer to my question will be inside of the data. Just try to reason around the data, and then you will come up with the answer. Someone called this technique RAG, but initial idea was actually to overcome through this limited context window. So, but the approach is actually legit when you load the prompt with the necessary data and then ask the question, and the answer is containing inside of this data. This, however, makes the engineers to create something that later we called a wrapper around LLM. So basically, the application that is doing virtually nothing, rather than stuff the prompt with the additional information and then bypass everything to LLM. Maybe it will do the post-inference checks, something like hallucinations, maybe some evaluations for the quality, and then present the results. But nevertheless, these are the capabilities of the model itself. Then we've got the second type of the applications when Anthropic came up with the tools calling, where some kind of specification for LLM to say to present tools in the prompt, and then you say, okay, I have several tools, so each tool will do X, Y, and Z, and with this structure. So now I will give you a task, and your LLM can decide whether you need a tool, and if you need a tool, then choose the tool that you want and execute this tool, right? Then take the results, make a reason out of the results of the tool execution, and then proceed with the next task if your task is not fully complete. So we called later something like tools calling with a fancy name like reason act architecture, but apparently LLM is choosing the tool and runs the tool. So eventually the application implementation will still look like a wrapper. So that means that the model itself is somewhere in the bottomest layer of the application, and then once the model will be deprecated, the model and so on, we will have to replace it with another model, and then because it's on the very, very, very bottom, this process is quite hard, right? Then once I created a tool that perfectly works within my application, and I might have spent for this PII detection or this user intent classifications several weeks of my engineering time. I want to reuse whatever I've done with another chatbot application, with another LLM application. And it appears that reusability is quite hard, right? And that could be the biggest showstopper for the services developers to create some kind of interfaces for the LLM and to expose their tool, like for example, GitHub. Operations over GitHub to the LLM and say, hey, this is the standardized tool. Just we don't really know your application specifics, but we want you to run. And within Reason and Act or Type 2 applications, this process is virtually impossible because every LLM, every LLM wrapper application is unique, right? So this moves us to the next Type 3 applications, and this moves us into the more something that we call compound AI systems, where we have loosely coupled model and it is detached completely from the services or tools that needs to be operated, and then just it gives possibility to split application into the two group. One is called host application, which holds the interface with your messaging system, if this is a chatbot interface, and your LLM, right? It's but then the tools has been exported as the separate standalone services outside of application and executed, and these services has direct interface to the servers. And when I mean services, I mean this is something like external data source, or maybe the third-party application that I want to show to my LLM. And yeah, this is eventually the MCP. So how does it work? Once again, we have the host application that runs that runs as the one process, and it has number of MCP clients. It's several applications. Let's say the processes or several routines inside of my host application process. Then we have in the middle the transport layer that is either SSE over HTTP, or STD in and STD out for the locally executed servers. And then what is server? Server is the dedicated process that has the one-to-one mapping with the client, and with the MCP client. And then it contains, it possesses the tool with the algorithm how to perform the certain action. What can be the action? For example, in information lookup in the database, right? Or operations with the remote services or with the local service. It doesn't matter, but it's up to the developer of the service to decide how to organize their communication with the data source or local or remote service. But then it will expose the results of its interaction as the common interface to the client and eventually to the host application. Right? That makes the possible to build virtually reusable servers and then reuse it across the applications, right? So the model context protocol is actually the specification that provides lifecycle request response routines around either HTTP SSE stateful connections or STD standard input, standard output, right? So then we have when we speak about MCP, it's not just only the protocol. These are the SDKs that has been developed, actively developed and maintained by the maintainers of the protocol. And it looks like community also catching up. So first, the protocol revision, and actually the latest is dated to the 11 November 2024, but the new specification is in active development. It's currently in the draft, and once it will be released, then the SDKs will be eventually updated. We can see that Python and probably TypeScript are the most developed SDKs at the moment. All SDKs have different feature parity, but apparently they are listed in this slide, okay to use. I did not look at the Golang and Rust SDK by the matter of time, but the newly released .NET, TypeScript, JavaScript, Kotlin, and Python seems to be fine. Right, and at the same time, the framework creators are catching up, and they provide their own augmentation around of the SDKs. So that means that if you want to use Llama Index or AutoGen or maybe LangGraph, right? They all have their own implementations. If you want to stay within Java ecosystem, then Spring AI has MCP support as well, right? They provide different features, but it looks like the framework developers are catching up. The news, all the latest news, you can see on the link. Just scan the QR code and then or type the link, and then you can see the more information about the slides. So whenever let's start with the servers. Server is probably the most notorious and most important component. It has three primitives. One is called resource. Resource is something that application can contain. Usually the information that user is requesting, right? It's consider for myself, I roughly draw the line. If I would implement the API, then resources probably would be the get API. Right, what does it mean? That every resource should have the URI. It is represented by URI and can be revealed to the model within this uniquely identifiable. Right, probably it's not the best resource. It's not the best to look up in the database, but if it is RESTful API, well-defined RESTful API, why not, right? The file system can be another example of the good resource. And then we have tools. The tools is the most important in my mind, at least from the beginning and from the real world applications. The tools are the functions, something that LLM will use to interact with the outside services that it doesn't have. If this is if this is your server is the English to SQL agent that that's given the prompt written in English, it will run internally the SQL statement and present the database and present the results of the SQL in the format in a structured way. This is the perfect example of the tool and the function, right? We will use in my example. I will use the different tool, the programmable search API, to provide search capabilities over the using the Google search. And then one last primitive, but not least, is actually prompt. What does it prompt? Remember the open book question when you need to stuff some information inside of the prompt? Then to support this kind of use cases, the MCP specification supports the prompt template, where the and dynamic prompts, static and dynamic prompts, and prompt template. So the host application can request, and then they can apparently pass this prompt to the LLM. Right? This works like if you have a prompt, I don't know about it, just give me the prompt, format to the best of your abilities, and then I will figure out how to run it. This is the idea of the prompt. So then very quickly, let's how to do the MCP server development. Super easy to start. As many of the popular framework, if you have Python, and I do have a Python, so you just do pip install MCP, and then that's about it. Then it will run. There are also generators available for Python and TypeScript, but I personally have the bad experience with generators. They have too many opinions about the environment. I have different environments, and then eventually the generator is broken for me. Probably it's not the best time for the generator. Yet I do have one good example of the good generator. I will save it for the future, for the end of my presentation. So without generators, how to say it, just works. You will have maybe 5-10 minutes more typing, and then maybe it will be faster for you because you won't spend 2 hours of debugging of something that has been generated. But nevertheless, once you install MCP, what you get? You have 2 types of the API. One of them is low-level SDK that provides pretty much implementation of SSE and JSON RPC protocol implementation. You can use it as raw as you can. or there is a fast API, fast MCP server that has a high-level abstraction, and this is what my first choice to do until its limitations are not like forcing me to go low level. Yeah. Then CLI. It's probably the easiest way to run the MCP server once it's ready to get exposed. And someone will say Docker, but I think CLI is just faster because you don't have to package. And for something quick and dirty, it's good enough. For production use case, you definitely will need Docker and so on. And if you need some observability about how the tools are performing, or your servers in performing, there is Inspector. This is a Node.js application that is able to introspect, run, check the tool, check the service, see how it's running, and so on, right? And actually, UV, which is popular packaging system for Python, the MCP is quite opinionated about UV. So if you do not use UV, then it's easy to replace it with a pip or poetry or anything that you like, but by default it's UV. So just be advised about that. Then implementation is quite simple. Once you created the MCP server, you have actually there is a fast MCP. You just import it and then run it. You can bypass the additional settings as the dictionary, and then you have two choices of run it. You can run it. You can run it as your separate process, right? Like then it will be like on like on the left side. You have to choose either it's SSE or STD input output, and then if you want to plug into the existing web app, then you can do it with the example on the right side. Last but not least, you will see that once you run, your MCP can act as the decorator, and then it will decorate the functions that will provide this abstraction. That can be the prompts, resources, or the tools. Right, the tool can do the action. By default, every function should return string, and then. Yeah, this is because of STD input output nature. So every MCP server must provide STDIO interface, and it can provide SSE interface if needed. But that means that your system should be ready to do the STD input output, and you are pretty much bound to the strings. These are probably the biggest limitations of entire protocol or entire solution. So once you're done with your server, then it's very easy to run. It's just the MCP run a server, and then it runs. If you need to debug, then you run MCP debug dev. It will optionally propose to install the inspector. And once Inspector is installed, it will run the proxy. And inside of the proxy, it will spin up the process to run the UI, web UI for Inspector. I will show you it in a minute. And last but not least, what you need to do, you need to register it with the host application. I'm using the Cloud Desktop app, but apparently there are more than there are tens or dozens of MCP client application already created, and I will show you how easy you can create a client application by yourself. I will show how to create application for Slack, and yeah, you will see. Then let's do a quick demo. Right, this is my This is my code, and actually, let me first start with what I've got. I've got here inside of my application the normal Python project. It has the by projects with uh, number of dependencies. And yes, I'm running Pydantic AI. I will explain why later. But yeah, then I run the MCP. And by the way, the fast MCP is today part of MCP the implementation, so you don't need to specify it separately, right? Then I have several servers. The first server that I will show you, it's called Today. That was the name that I invented, and then you will see what it does. So it's very simple. So the MCP server is running. It has some configurations that have been imported, but most important, it has the function that returns today, the date today, with a certain structure. What's needed? Because I'm asking a question: what will happen like tomorrow? What day is tomorrow, right? What is the next meetup next week, right? What is the meetup last Friday, right? The way as it works the following. So the LLM will say, "Oh, I have a tool that tell me what day, what weekday, and so on today," and then I can calculate how to answer user question about the possible date that they have in mind. Right. Then this is why I present the structure of today, and then it's super simple, and then it works. The most important part of this, called the class comment, you can if you want to make it dynamic, you can put it into the tool description, right? Then this eventually the prompt, the piece of the prompt that will be passed to LLM. So it would, together with the tool description, to the tool specifications, to teach how to run this tool, right? So this is eventually is the already formatted to be digested by the Claude model that I'm using locally, and yeah, well formatted prompt, right? So this is not for human, this is for LLM eventually. If you want to make the comment method comment for human, then you need to use description as a decorator. For the LLM, then you will have the class comment for yourself or for the real human. So then I have another tool. What it will do? It will do the online search. This probably will be more interesting tool. So this is it's structured very similar, but yet a little bit more complex. So it has now HTTPX dependency to highlight to MCP server that yet this server has some dependencies. And then it does the Google search. So basically, it hits the Google Search API, hits the search credentials. Then it will hit it will run the search, and then it will convert back the search into the whatever has been found into the structure of three: the title, the original link, and the text snippet that Google have, and then it will present the results. Right? Worth to be mentioned, you need to configure separately logger, because you can't log into std out. Std out is reserved for the function output, and then if you do log to std out, then yeah, be advised that you might have a problem. So what I do, I configure it logger to get logging into the std error, right? This is like workaround for entire MCP, right? Or you can log to the file. If you don't like std error, you want to preserve it for something else, you have to log to the file. A third option I can imagine, just send it to the TCP socket, send logs to the TCP socket, but do not do, once again, do not do the logs for std out. Yeah, and last but not least, I do have one more tool. This tool is actually presented the URL. It can download the web page, parse it with a beautiful soup, and yes, then extract the content, and then save it in the Markdown and present to the LLM as Markdown format. As we know, the LLMs quite good working with the Markdown format, right? Then I already registered all the tools within the cloud, with the Claude. And yet, because Claude is running as a separate process, you need to use the absolute path, because my Python environment is different. Docker might work better than you just specify the unified Docker commands, but I found that Docker is a little bit overkill for local execution. Right, this is a little bit more hacky approach, but right now this is the best that cloud desktop developers came up, right? And let me show how does it works, right? I will grab the prompt, and from my another application, I will explain it later, and then I will open the and this is, by the way, my programmable search, right? So this is the essence of what to do. What it does, it is able to go to the meetup for Turkey. Actually, it's constrained only to use PyData search results, and basically here I can ask the question, for example, model context protocol, right? And then I have to hit, right? If I ask, there are not so many events, but maybe in the year or there will be more events than we will have. It will be, yeah, it will be more representative, right? But at the same time, it's very easy to add more sites if needed. But yeah, right now it's good enough, right? And then let me open the Claude desktop, and okay, and by some reasons, by some demo effects, Claude is not running. Okay, let's see. Yeah. So once it's ready, it shows you like that. So once you register the tools, they are presented over here, and here I can see the tools that we have. We have today, we have get search, and we have the download web page. These are the tools. Once you run the Claude, it will spin up the physical processes and connect them to this application, right? And here we can also see that it was able to fetch this method comments as the prompt, so it will be able to use it. So then what it takes, like, I have a question, for example, and actually the task, search for the model context protocol meetup and give me the brief summary. Right, we know that the Claude can use either the information inside of its memory, or the Claude, which is currently 3.7. I can choose the different model if I want, and so on. But what is important, the Claude can use its own memory or the tools that has been registered, and the tools are constrained only to meetup, to this conference meetup. So basically, I don't need to give it additional context. It knows that, basically, it won't go somewhere else. now it's starting to do the it will start to do the reasoning, and you see it have chosen to use the search tool, and before it will do the search, it asks to authorize. Right, this is important security consideration because the tools can be not trusted or contain some vulnerabilities. Unfortunately, this is the reality of today. So we need to understand that implications of the tools and then authorize them. Yeah, and then it will do the search. We see that it was not able to find. It changes. It was not able to find anything. It will change the prompt, and still from the 2 tries, it was not able to find anything. Right. Somehow this thing worked fine before for me before the demo, but we all know that probabilistic nature of the of LLMs. Let's try to ask to search again and let's see what will happen. So yeah, let's see. Yeah. Now it was able to find the article, and then it tries to download the content, and then from the link, and then it will try to reason around of that, right? So then let's see. So it was able to find something, and then yeah, you see it's already identified that it's PyData Turkey the data, and it was able to find to reason around some information that it was able to find. Yeah, that's how it worked, right? And now within the few minutes of the time, let me do one more quick thing. Is actually because I don't want to use Claude. I am the engineer and I wanna build my own MCP client application. How do I do that? Easier, right? Here I have 2 samples, and by the way, all samples will be shared on the GitHub little bit later. Yeah. So to do this, I have chosen the PyData AI because it's damn slick, right? It has MCP bindings, so it's easy to use. My agent uses the Bedrock model, pretty much similar as Claude. I have carefully crafted system prompt. This is what I have crafted by myself. That shows, gives the personality, how to reason, how to use the tools, and how to respond, and so on. And then I have created in a very similar manner as for Claude. I like for this in a very similar structure. I have created a dictionary of configurations that I will pass to the LLM. I will pass. It will run the servers and then pass the results to LLM, right? And then I have the very same question that I have to ask, and then let's see how it will work. Right from here, it's already started. The tool. First, it does the list tools to understand what are tools available. Then it was able to identify, oh, there is search. This is it runs the Google search. It found the response. By the way, this response are from the just tool logging. Then it was able to find the information in the snippet, and then repeated the Google search again several times to make sure that it's asked it, and then actually came up with a quite interesting summary, right? It's little. We can see that it is a little bit hallucinated just to come up earlier, but nevertheless quite a decent. Quite a decent explanation. Because of the different system prompts, it's responded differently, but yeah, damn, it works. Yeah. And last but not least, this is not enough for me, right? I want to have a little bit more interactive. So then there is a Slack application. So it's a normal Slack application that can be created within your structure with this manifest, and then you can we can run it. Let's and then let me guide you through the application first before I run. So the very same servers. Then I run the very same agent, but also I run the application. Both agent and the applications are asynchronous, so I have to do async IO, a little bit of async IO magic. And here I run the MCP servers as the global context. In the global context, and then once it is run it in the main, I just say, okay, you must do both actions. One, you must do the global context, just run the MCP servers, run the Slack application, and run the Slack application. So basically, this is something like similar to the gather operation, but yeah. So if I run, I basically have these two coroutines that both blocking, and then I just gather the responses for them here. So I can see that the new MCP server started. The log message, you can see that Bolt application is running. Bolt is the framework for Slack, right? And this is my Slack application, basically. Let's see if it is responding. Yeah. And then I can ask the very similar question. And let's see. Then you see it's already started to respond. And then basically updates the chat with my question and then tries to reason, try to find the solution. Basically, how it works in a very similar manner. We see that something is happening here. And what is happening is actually here. It takes the user message, then it puts the status, I'm working on this user request, as we have seen, and then it bypasses to agent, and then agent has system prompt, it has it knows the tools, and then it just does the task, and then basically says this, oops, if something horrible happens, or actually solves the problem, right? So, and apparently, while I was speaking, then we can see that, oh yes, it was able to fulfill this, right? So, yeah, let's say it will do another search, and then it should be able to find something, right? Yeah, at least it was now it was able to find even my name and so on, but yeah.
Could you make it full screen, Antons?
Sorry, say it again.
Could you make it full screen if possible? A bit smaller.
Smaller?
Yeah, could you make it full screen? Make it big, a little bit bigger?
This bigger. Okay.
Yes, thanks.
Okay. So yeah, basically here you can see I can ask the follow-up questions and so on. It does the answer right on the questions to the best of its abilities. It uses the tools and so on. So this is the short demo. This is the short demo that I have prepared for you. Then let me get back to the presentation. I do see that we are outside of 5 minutes behind the schedule. I apologize for that. But what's important learnings that we have here? First of all, these are the conclusions that are my personal conclusions and probably will be changed later, but hear me out. There is, if you want to use generator, the best generator that I was able to find is actually behind this link. Right? Oops, sorry. This is the prompt that you can pass to the to your Copilot, cloud desktop, or anything else, and then give an instructions, and then it will use Python or TypeScript to generate MCP server for you. And this prompt is quite huge. It is well defined, and it's actually. Yeah, And actually, I've got some better ability to generate the servers actually with the LLM, not using the generators embedded inside of the MCP CLI, right? Then once again, you are because you need to always support two options, STD-IO for all servers and then SSE for only production use, right? Sometimes you don't want both options. In this case, consider to use proxy that can take the server and then provide the second implementation. Right, either is STDIO or SSE. I think this is quite handy and essential thing for production case, right? And if you don't want to use for your for commercial coding some software that may be quite unprone, then you can implement by yourself. It's easily replicatable, right? There is nothing problem, but actually the good thing is to provide some kind of service mesh for all your servers, and then to provide the second implementation when needed. And once the MCP specification will be even more updated, then in this case you update your this service mesh instead of update your actual server. So yeah, in my mind, this is handy. Another thing, if you want to learn more how to write your servers, just check out the sample servers. There are plenty of them, and actually they provide quite a good capability for that. And please be mindful to the SSE in general. You actually, because it's SSE and one-to-one cardinality between the client and server, right? Always one-to-one. Then you cannot use serverless, right? If that means that every serverless servers are currently not working. I have seen in the roadmap of the MCP specifications. Probably once it will be ready, it will have the stateless protocol. So that may be the salvation for the serverless workloads. But until it's not implemented, then yeah, please use Kubernetes for online services, right, or anything similar. Don't use Lambdas yet, right? And please be mindful about server out. This is something that is coming right now. The protocol is virtually unprotected. I mean, there is no authorization yet enabled between the server and the client. It will be added later, and this is something that I advise you to see just now, how it will be implemented, then to make your own decisions whether it's worth considering of using it for commercial coding, or you wanna wait or skip in general. Right, and last but not least, if you decided to use, please be mindful about the security. Right, the Anthropic wants to make it super clear that the MCP server can optionally run on the users on the or interact with the host, and it may contain vulnerabilities. Right, you need to design interface around this vulnerability, so users would not be intimidated of something working there. There are specific prompts that happened that you have seen, like Anthropic Cloud has before it will do the action. It asks permission to run the tool, and then there is client can have this probes functionality where it can try when the tool can try to interact with the host or the host application environment, if in a more how to say safe environment, and only if that will be an observable space, and only if that will be okay, and the user approves, then it will run the actual task, right? And yeah, just be mindful about that. Check the MCP anthropic recommendations, and when you implement, and then you should be fine. Yeah. With all said, I would like to say thank you everyone for coming, and then I do have minus 12 minutes for questions, but yeah, if the hosts of this meetup will allow me, then I will be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much for this valuable presentation, Antons. Several questions on the chat. I can read them quickly. The first question is MCP considered as a standard for other LLM producers?
Yes and no, right? I would consider this today as the community standard, right? For example, the OpenAI forcibly not implementing that, but apparently community does through the framework designers like PyData AI and so on. They all implement, right? Right now, I would use it as the standard, as the only candidate for the standards that we have in the market today, right? And right now, and probably it has the best chances to become the standard with the upcoming specifications.
Okay. So other question is how you give explanation for LLM? I guess this is something MCP design.
Wow, I have a spare talk about that. It's 1.5 hours. But apparently the LLM right now, in context of MCP, I would consider LLM as the model, as the text model primarily. They add additional modalities, and it will come in the future. But right now, it's exclusively a text model that can do two distinguished tasks. One of them is capable to do structured output, and then it is able to do tools calling. If it is able to do both, then it is suitable to run MCP.
Okay. So the other question is, what are the essential parts of MCP server we must provide in an MCP server code?
Sorry, say it again.
What are the essential parts of the MCP server we must provide in an MCP server code?
Okay. So first of all, the most important, the way how you interact. Is it SSE or is it STDIO? This is most important. Then if you go high level, like FastMCP, then apparently that's about it. If you provide low level MCP, if you run the low level implementation, then you have to provide capabilities, what your server is capable to. Does it contain tools? How many tools? What are these tools? Does it contain any resources? Can you list the resources? And the same with the prompts, right? You provide the capabilities, and then the way how to access these capabilities, and then your server is ready.
Got it. Okay. Also, I have a question. So you, in the beginning of the presentation, you shared three types of design, evolution of the designs. So when let's say we have a problem that we will try to solve this problem with LLMs. So how should we decide which design to choose? Should we always choose the MCP? I don't know the currently status for the all problems, or how should we consider these designs when we decide to implement a solution?
Right. It's a good question. So first of all, I would ask what application you developing? Is it just a RAG application? Is it the chatbot assistant? Is it the agent application or anything else, right? Is it a multi-agent application and so on? There are new application types that emerges quite often, and then you naturally will see that to which design you gravitating towards. So I believe the biggest difference between type 2 and type 3 applications is the modularity and reusability. Yes, it comes with extra complexity and whether, but if you don't have luxury of implementing something reusable, maybe not now. And for example, you need to show your to prove value of LLM fast to your client. Or to your users, then you may go with the type 2 and then upgrade to type 3, right? But today I would probably start with the type 3 just by default. But I would do this because I practiced MCP in advance actually. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And the last question. So why don't we use Lambda?
Lambda for MCP?
Yes, probably.
It's just impossible, yeah, because of stateful protocol nature. So to use Lambda, you need a stateless protocol, the stateless protocol, and then you will allow Lambda to react on the incoming request and scale correspondingly, right? Then scale to zero nature of Lambda just breaks this stateful protocol. That means that once your connection is broken between the server and the client, your session is over. Right? You need to restart it.
Mhm. Okay. And also, there are some. Are you going to share this your implementations when it's ready? Then we will probably when you do it in GitHub, we can share the link of your GitHub repository when it is ready. Okay. Yeah, that was all. Thank you so much for your presentation, and also thank you for everyone joining this session. So hope we will join again in future events. Thank you so much.